FM potentially not in the best shape against Reason. Like, Reason seemed like they were about to win Dust 2 and potentially would have taken that series. But at the same time, it wasn't that one-sided. Obviously, they'd already gone 2 maps. It was a fairly solid performance from both of them. And I don't know, maybe August were having an off day yesterday, because today they did step it up. So it's hard to say, I think, for me at this point. It's very difficult to say indeed, but I'm expecting this one to go 2-1. I might just give the edge to CAZ because yesterday they did look so decisive.
Yeah, they sure did. A bit of scrappy action as Jacob eventually picks up the frag on Hud's G as the plants over towards the other side, over towards A. And, you know, if Boast gets taken out by Neilzinho, that doesn't happen actually, but there's a potential for them to get in there, and actually there were other CAZ players backing up in the end, so it's all good. But it's a bit of a spread out and see what you can do kind of play coming in from CAZ, to be honest, and it's worked out for them. Fair play. And it's another sign that maybe if you want to play a little looser and more aggressive against FM on your T side, you can perhaps get away with it just that little bit. Then we'll see if FM have made any adjustments. They will have certainly learnt some lessons from Reason, or you'd hope so, and maybe they need to change it up. And Hudgy, he does get the one frag, but that's a trade, and trades are not really ideal on your CT setup. It just changes the way you have to play it. You have to rotate off, you have to try and cover that angle potentially, or maybe you don't. Maybe you expect that the team are going to hope that you're going to rotate off, and they'll continue to press on and attack the other side anyway, thinking you might have softened up. So it just creates a whole extra dimension to the game that you would rather not have on CT side. On T side, not so much of an issue. You probably have the numbers advantage when you first enter anyway, and it'll lead the team in a retake sitch more often than not if you could make your picks. So, minute left to go into the second round. Onto upgraded pistols coming in from FM. Going up against an AK, couple of MAC-10s. So Jacob and Robin going to be looking to build a bankroll as quickly as they can with their 200% kill bonus as they make their way over towards the B site. Looks like that's going to be the avenue. A couple of players in the tunnels for FM that are going to be able to rotate super fast up onto short and maybe catch them unawares before CAZ can get themselves into position.
Yeah, the issue for me with these MAC-10s, if they come up against an armored player, they're going to be in so much trouble. So it's going to come down to who hits the shots and how they hit them. And initially, it's going to be Robin. Manages to find the dink, I think, onto Fry there, so is able to finish it off. And JK catches Som completely by surprise. Sorry, Neilzinho. Shaq instead is the man who catches Som with a Galil instead of the MAC-10, finds that headshot, and closes it out. So a very nice round indeed from CAZ in their second. Pretty clean. Pretty quick, pretty decisive once again. It looks like they're completely set to go 3-0 from the start. After that is going to be FM coming back into it with a little bit of a buy, but you've got to imagine, as they did put a decent amount of economy into their last, into round number 2, they're going to be, well, wanting for just a little bit in the next, potentially missing out on some nades or something. This round is sort of expecting it to be one-sided, but initially we're actually going to be seeing trades coming through. It's up to Cryptics now to make the difference with the Tech 9, and unfortunately, that's a difficult thing to do, especially when you're playing any sort of range. Fortunately, Boaster comes in, helps him out, and that does mean it's just Neilzinho left. This one should be closed out pretty soon, but, I mean, a more damaging round than I think it ever should have been, Mark.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, again, trades and plenty of trades alike, and all it's doing is playing into the hands of CAZ in the end. But you're bang on right, they dropped a couple of weapons that they could have maybe done without, and it's a battle that they could have avoided completely had they realised that there's a stack into mid. They could have pushed out into B, and they do pick it up in the end, and they've still got plenty of cash, sort of 9-2 and 7-4 on Jacob and Robin respectively, who are going to have to go for the rebuy. So nice position for them to be in, and Jacob has got himself an AWP to go with. We saw Neilzinho with the AWP in hand, and he's maybe a little reluctant to play the Guardian position out towards sort of the long approach onto A, so I'm going to see that. But he does like to float around. We've seen him over towards B, peeking out towards mid. Another thing to watch out for is Som was fairly ineffective with his aggressive plays. Again, there's another trade-off, but Som was often the first to die when they're squaring off against Reason on this map last time, trying to get mid and toilet control. You see again, he's under some serious pressure with 2 players trying to gun him down, and he is tagging, but Robin comes away with it, and again, it's softened things up. First buy versus buy could well go the way of CAZ with their 4-3 advantage potentially. Neilzinho now has to look over towards long, but he's also got the mid area towards the toilets, which is completely open. You've also got to keep some cover on B as well, which is where the two other players, his teammates, are currently holding off. So for the time being, not too bad. CAZ need to decide where they want to work. If that decision is A, it's going to be a really tough ask for Neilzinho. He'll have to drop back, maybe pick up a frag in the meantime if he can, and wait for his teammates to back up. But instead, it's going to be the B. They're both playing close and looking into the same angle, so if they split off over towards short, which it looks like is going to be their plan, this might give them the opportunity to at least get access to the site, and from then on it's whether they can find these remaining two players. Neilzinho, has a couple of options to rotate around, and Stan's picked up one, but he's traded straight out, so again, advantage to CAZ, 3 for 2. 25 seconds left to go. Need to get that bomb to the site. Fry hasn't been spotted yet, but he will be called off now, and before he can look towards Jacob, he's caught by Robin, who looks in his direction. Plant comes down, and Neilzinho has a pretty tough ask for 2v1 here. Does get one frag though, straight off the bat.
Yeah, manages to start it off nicely and puts himself in a very winnable situation indeed. I mean, he's lacking that armor, so there is the chance that that is going to be a huge issue. Obviously, if he tries to take this bomb plan, he's going to be a lot more vulnerable than he could have been, and indeed, he is going to try for at least a little bit. The Molotov comes in, scares him off for a second, but just long enough for him to readjust with the AWP and find the shot onto Jacob, and that means that indeed he will be taking this round. Maybe ill-advised there, that Molotov, because it seemed that was the thing that spurred him to go, okay, you know what, I'm going to move away from the bomb now, I don't want to lose any more health, and then just so happens Jacob peeks directly after it, and a very unfortunate situation indeed if you're on the side of CAZ, very fortunate if you're on the side of FM. It's going to give them another chance into the game. Obviously, CAZ still have a little bit of bank, so they can afford to get the AKs up this round. They can afford to get basically everything up this round. But FM, who are looking in such dire straits with their money, are suddenly able to get 4 FAMASes and a boatload of utility out.
Yeah, which is all a bonus, and Neil pretty much pulling off a similar kind of 6 to how he pulled off last night. Sort of retaking over towards that B and getting a defuse in it, and exactly right, the Molotov gave him a reason to flush away from there. CAZ trying to get some mid control. This is maybe something to watch out for. Is Som going to overcommit? I think he might have learnt his lesson, hopefully, but Neilzinho's in there and he's taken straight away with that AWP, so it's just FAMAS going to be defending with the 4 players of FM left to go, and there is someone else in the toilet. It's probably going to be Som, most likely. Going to stand on the site along with Fry over towards the B site, and at the moment they can't commit anywhere. As such, they probably haven't got the information to do that. They might make that choice, perhaps, and Hudge G, he has to get flushed out, looking towards the mid, and Som does get one, and he has a chance for a second from behind. They know where he's coming from now, and he does get that frag. Can he pick up the third on Cryptix, who's grabbed the AWP, and he does nail Som. What a shot that is from Cryptix, and not messing around with the AWP in hand. He's not one of the most familiar users of it. It's more likely going to be in the hands of well, probably Jacob, actually, but puts in some righteous work, instead drops for the AK. Feels like it's the more flexible weapons they want to instead attack towards B. Plant's going to come in. Can Fry replicate Neilzinho's efforts? Can he make this 2v1 clutch with the Plant over towards the B site? I'm thinking it's fairly unlikely, but you never know.
Whilst you do never know, you're quite right, it's fairly unlikely. There's no utility for him to utilise, so it is going to have to be an all-aim clutch, and realistically, with the bomb Plant, he's not going to have a huge amount of opportunity to go for those angels, especially considering that Cryptix and Chak are playing together. These guys know that he is going to have to take fire, and they know that if they group up, they can find those shots in the end, not even coming to that. It's just Cryptix to hit the headshot almost immediately, and that puts another one on the board for CAZ, as well as that resets the economy of FM, so they're going to be right back down to nothing, right back down to those USPSs on the majority of their players. Hudge G can afford a deagle, a couple of P250s come out, but it's going to be, well, a pretty poor buy. It's going to be a little bit worrying for them, and something that really I don't think there's even that much room to work off of. Maybe 1-2 frags in the round, that would be an extremely lucky situation. As it stands, you're probably expecting to see, yeah, I'd say one this round from the guys. Try and do a little bit of economic damage, but not a huge amount more than that, as CAZ, the way they've been playing, should just shred through them.
Yeah, you'd think so, and some, again, worrying early signs for FM, who have again picked this map and are not starting in perhaps the best way on the CT side. It's a difficult hold, CT side for the most part, especially if you get picked off early, and as is always the way with this game, if you get behind with your economy, CT is where you really start to feel the squeeze, and there's a bit of that coming into it, as things gone slightly differently. For example, if the pistol had gone the way of FM, then we might be looking at a different story. And there's not been that many actual buy versus buys. It's just the game rolling through as it normally does up to this point, and still very early days. 45 seconds left to go on the clock. Few upgraded pistols in the hands of FM. Get a little glance and try and guesstimate what they're going to be able to buy next time out. And they just had a mini reset, so not a whole lot if they don't manage to pick this one up. But it's got to go with the economy as best you can, try and build it as best you can. They might be able to force something up next time around if they want to, but if that doesn't pan out and things continue along this vein, then CAZ getting 6 rounds T-side. I'll be fairly pleased with that already. It gives them something to build from. His chat gets a flag on Stanley, and we are underway. Plant already down before a single player gets dropped from either side. HudsG trying to spam through and does get a crisp one on Robin in the end. Took a few attempts at it. It's not... No, he's not just gone on 1D, him, but comes away with it in the end, and that is the power of the hand cannon. If you find the face, you're going to rip the thing clean off, and it looks like FM aren't really going to commit too much. Oh, okay, so something's gone in. Now I'm trying to look for some kind of frag, but just going in one at a time, far too easy, and whatever upgrades they threw into that, they have just dropped as part of the skirmish. And HudsG 17 points of health. And Fry goes down as well. Wow, okay, so CAZ making light work of this one, and they're in prime position, I think, to take it to 6-1. FM, they could force here if they want to, but it's going to cause them more problems as far as money goes.
I mean, this is what I didn't understand about that last round, right? When you look at it, if they had money for a buy, going for those frags with the pistols would have been worth it, because they didn't have pistols, they didn't have utilities, they didn't have anything that they could take through to the next round past the guns. As it stood, though, they had no money whatsoever to spend this round, or at least no money that they should really be spending, and so dropping those pistols in pursuit of a couple more frags, I don't know, it just seems like an odd choice to me, because it's going to be another eco anyway. CAZ are most likely going to shred through them again anyway, and if they do, we're just going to be seeing more and more money stack up no matter what they do. At the moment, though, CAZ doing exactly what they were doing in the last round, and exactly what they were doing right against Xanticos. They're taking it slow. They don't feel pressured to go for the frags instantly. They're willing to just leave it alone a little bit, wait for FM to come to them, wait for them to get aggressive, and if they don't, then they'll take matters into their own hands and push down probably the routes with the longest lines of sight. They did it wonderfully last time to find their entry onto the A bomb site, and honestly, I don't think FM are going to have any sort of real response to that past, okay, let's find an angle, sit in it, hope that they come past at some point, and don't check for us.
Yeah, it's a great point. And, all kind of worrying things as they go forward. And not a lot to work with. Got Robbins, he takes down Stanley over towards the mid area. They now make their way again onto the A site, and this is looking again far too easy. It's kind of like Neozinho, okay, nice shot from over towards the truck, takes down Boaston. That's going to slow them out just a little bit, but probably not long enough. And it just feels like FM haven't quite got that extra gear as we see them get cut down from their pistol position. They're kind of playing it in the same way. It's almost like they haven't got that kind of ability as a unit to go and push somewhere, try and be a little aggressive, try and shake up the pace. It's pretty much like they are a one-pace team more often than not, and it would be nice to see them kind of have that extra thing in their locker. I mean, we saw last night someone trying to force something from round about the toilets and the long A kind of area on this particular map, and it just didn't work out that well, and you kind of have to work that as a unit, I think, unless you've got a player that just specialises in the free roll, and it seems like they haven't really got that. So maybe something they need to start thinking about is just push somewhere. Just get everyone underneath and see what kind of aggro you can cause, try and catch these guys from behind, because CAZ, they're dropping into the similar kind of vein. We know that they can mix it up, they can get aggressive, they can power through, but at the moment they're not being given any real need to. They can just play it at whatever pace they want, go for the picks, which seems to be working out quite well. FM just can't build any kind of economy to push forward, so nothing for them to really work on from that point. As we see, a minute left to go on the clock, they're trying to work a boost, and if they do get a bit of a peek into long A, they might be able to get one of the players pushed up there being a little bit aggressive, but so far nothing really coming of this. Going for the boost, trying to get a peek.
Oh.
And I think after all that setup, about 15-20 seconds, Robin takes one to the face and realises, yeah, let's not do that, lads. But Boaster said he gets in behind on Som, who just didn't seem to react to that player jumping from behind him. Was just looking towards the angle he's trying to cover, and that is one problem. If you get in that position, you can very quickly get exposed and caught from behind. And again, seeing him being fairly ineffectual on the CT setup so far. Friday, he does take down Chak, and there's 15 seconds left to go. They've got to move fast if they want to go and attack this B, and Cryptix tries to get in, but that flash slows him down ever more. Nilzinho and Fry with the spray down, and somehow FM have dragged CAZ right down into that pace, and it's too slow. They haven't got time to get the plant in. HUDG cleans up the final frag, and that was unexpected.
I mean, that was a little bit painful to watch, actually. As you said, it seemed like they might have got a little bit too comfortable, even on the CAZ side. They were trying elaborate things like the 3-man boost there, and obviously it didn't work. And I think at that point things just started falling apart from them. When that happens, especially when you come into the round feeling confident, you feel like you have enough time. Maybe just their brains weren't in the right place, their minds weren't in the right place to sort of adapt quickly enough to make the round work for them, because at the end of the day, you leave yourself 15 seconds to push into a bomb site. You're not going to be having a good time, especially when the player carrying the bomb's on, I think, what, 20-something HP? All it's going to take is a couple of bullets from an M4, and suddenly your chances of winning the round are 0. Yeah, extremely worrying for them, but it does come with that little caveat of hope, doesn't it? It does come with the fact that should they win this next round, they've reset FM's economy once again, and are potentially going to be able to get another couple of free rounds on the board.
Yeah, and then from that point, you're pretty much looking down the barrel of like an 8 or 9 rounds T-side already, which is pretty tough, even if they don't pick up anything else. And then it's coming down to FM, and can they win that pistol round on the T-side, amongst other things. And you also kind of have to question whether they've got those extra changes of pace to really go and scare a team on T-side, and whether you can win that kind of massive rounds, if you like. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic whatever happens here as we get an unpause and we are back underway and good to go. A brief technical pause, issues with the FM TeamSpeak, but we are back up and ready to go. Hopefully those won't continue for too much more time. We're back into the playoffs. Upper bracket final between FM and CAZ. Could go all the way, best of 3 decided on Dust 2 potentially.
I mean, if I was FM, I'd be a little bit worried about that.
Or facing off against CAZ on Dust 2.
I mean, after last night playing on Dust 2, yeah, against a team that's maybe a little bit faster and more confident than yourselves, because, well, it didn't look like it was going to go well for them.
No, that's exactly right, and it just kind of feels a bit like, and I've said it a few times already, FM maybe haven't got that extra gear they can kick up into, or if they have got it, they're maybe not that comfortable in using it, while some of these other teams that we're dealing with, they are much more comfortable playing at a quicker pace, and when they get dragged down to the slower pace, a bit like we're seeing from CAZ a little bit now, and in that last round, maybe it's not so comfortable for them. And we haven't really seen a team that can jump in and be super comfortable playing at multiple different paces, and that's something that maybe going forward is something that these teams want to think about, and just changing up the way they play and be able to have these different gears and different ways to approach things. Kind of like if plan A doesn't work, you've got plan B and C that you can fall back on. And I think a number of these guys have been guilty of this on both sides of the coin, as Nilzinho narrowly manages to escape Boaster for the time being, but he had the information. Nilzinho didn't hug G and Fry, though, able to pick up a couple of frags over towards the B side, which is where the hit's coming in, and Robin has got 2 in quick succession. Fry, though, is that his 3rd? I believe it is, yeah. And Boaster now has to chase this bomb down. Fry with a 4K, and he just took the right spot. It's so far back that they weren't really looking in his direction. By the time they did, it was too late. Job done. And again, it's a case of FM not committing too much, not getting picked off too early, which is something that Son was guilty of maybe when we watched them on this map yesterday. And then CAZ, they're not getting those picks, and they're finding themselves stuck on time when they have to make a move somewhere, and that's playing into FM's hands.
I think, honestly, CAZ just aren't quite as capable as Reason Why last night of putting that explosive presence straight through, of, diving into toilets, picking up whoever's playing there, continuing to push towards the A site even if they don't really see anything coming of it, and then being willing to fall all the way back. And a lot of that is what Reason were doing to put themselves in such a successful position. They were going for the early aggression, finding those picks, no matter what the cost, and then reevaluating their options. CAZ seem a lot more like they want to get themselves established somewhere, and then just go for a straight push. You know, they hold back a little bit, they play it fairly passive for the most part, unless they can find something a little bit lucky, I assume, and try and work things out. I'd say more of an intelligent manner than just like a brute force sort of attack, but this round we might have to see a little bit more of brute force style of play come out, as they do have a Tech 9 and a Deagle on the board. And that Tech 9 is only really going to be effective in the close ranges, but at the moment it's Song getting aggressive as he manages to find Cryptics whilst they're setting up. Both are going to be full flash, but it doesn't matter because Jacob's got in to help his teammates out, so it is going to be a 2-for-2 trade. And HUDSG is the man to watch right now, as we do see CAZ try and push themselves towards the A site. There's 3 players encroaching, and HUDSG is going to be in the perfect position to spot them as they cross, but he can't quite find the frag initially. Nilzinho over by Optimus also unable to pick anybody up, and that means the bomb's gone down. CAZ have escaped, and it's going to be a 3 versus 3 retake.
Yeah, it is, and if FM don't pick this one up, it's going to be opportunity missed for them, and I think it's a bit of a sign that if you do want to play aggro somewhere, you've got to pick up those frags, or you are just going to get a trade, and that's going to be sort of counterintuitive for you. Nilzinho now, he does get aggressive, and the defuse is going to be very comfortable for them to pick up now as he distracts Robin, as that defuse does come in, and, oh, this is going to be close. Okay, he's got it, it's safe, that's fine. But, yeah, it just felt like Som's in there. He's got a chance to spray down and get 3 kills in there. Instead, he only gets the 1, he flashes out, and then he has to drop back. And, you know, already tagged down to 4 HP, so not a whole lot he could have done from there. And, you know, they haven't quite got that right. You know, from that point, there are players having to rotate in towards the A. The plant came in, helps the CAZ economy out just that little bit more, and I'd take a little glance at that. So they have gone full spend, but you imagine they didn't have those $800. It would have been a really scrubby buy, and they've used those rifles to perfection. They've got an early pick. Cryptic's got taken down to 17 points of health, perhaps saved by the armor and helmet he was able to pick up, and CAZ are now in the ascendancy here. Still a minute 30 left to go, so they've got plenty of time to make things happen. FM maybe need to start drifting around, thinking about where they want to plug these holes, and you can imagine that CAZ could maybe pull them around the map, force a rotate to come in, make someone move around, try and draw them off a site, make it a little easier for them to make their way in, you know, and force FM to rotate in from one particular angle. And they may be looking towards that boost thing that I tried before, and yeah, Robin goes up for a little peek. There's no one anywhere near, though, because they've got that pick. FM, you think they might want to be more passive, but Son, what are you doing? It's gone on phase 3 players when you've already got a man down. Still 45 seconds left to go, and see they're now hightailing it over towards B because they know that they have to go and bolster A defense. It's just been softened up. The mid's completely open. You know, it's just some rookie errors, and FM have chosen this map twice in a row.
Yeah, it does really seem like they're trying to fix out any sort of bugs they might have on the map whilst playing in a tournament setting, and it's not always the smartest idea to do that sort of thing, and unfortunately for them at the moment it doesn't seem like it's working out, because obviously CAZ on the less favoured side have just stuck that bomb down for round number 7, and FM are stuck in a 2 versus 5 retake, and that, whilst possible, is very, very unlikely indeed, and I think we will see them just falling back, holding on to their guns and hoping they can get something started in the next round instead. But the thing is, even with the 3 rounds they managed to put on the board, all 3 of them came close. I think it was 3 men surviving, and then the other 2 rounds were 2 men surviving. Plus a bomb plant in the last means that CAZ and FM's economies, they're not worlds apart right now. And realistically, if FM lose this, if they do get reset, they're going to be back down to the very basics. I assume that's why the save came in, I assume that's what justifies it, but it still doesn't give you a huge amount of hope, because this coming round, or the round after that, it's still going to have to be a buy where they invest every penny that they have in their pockets. And this late in the game, that's a worrying prospect. If CAZ can find another chance to crush their economy, if they can find another round where essentially they can force them back onto the eco or even the double eco, then they're going to be in a very good position indeed, and that could be this round, as FM have decided to put everything into a very, very broken buy.
CAZ tries to get super aggressive into the mid, catches a nade, and he's only down to 85 points of health, but he is not in a position where he's going to be all that comfortable. I would not suggest from there, and maybe have to think about how he can get out of dodge safely. If he's just going to trade 1 for 1, that is not a whole lot of use for FM's efforts, and CAZ does end up picking up a frag, but there we go. Trade straight back, and now we've got Som who's in the mid, and again, gets caught out, and how's it all going for Som? He's only got 4 frags so far, and we played 11 rounds worth of Counter-Strike, so it's just not working the way that they're setting up, and it's not the holds on the sites, it's just that they're getting picked off too early in this mid area, and you might think, alright, well, maybe we should let them have it and just play retake CS over towards the A, because that's got to be the better option than what they're doing right now.
I mean, it definitely does have some merit behind it if they can't hold mid. That, or you play mid, but you play it in such a way as you can always fall back. You don't really want to put any aggression mid that you can't immediately give up, because at that point you're going to be finding yourself in trouble. And say they manage to find an AWP, go for the early pick, indeed, try and hold them off for as long as you can, but as soon as you see them break through your line of defense, before they've killed anybody, leave. Head back to the A site, because it's extremely viable, and neilzeno are going to be seeing how viable the A site is here as a defensible place, but unfortunately for him, it's only going to be 1. It's going to be up to Fry to finish the round off. 3 frags in total, a beautiful 2-man spray down, and another round on the board for FM, perhaps, where it wasn't quite so deserved. And, I mean, honestly, if I'm going to call anybody's name out in this as, or if I'm going to call attention, rather, to anybody's name in this and the performance that they're putting on the board right now, it's got to be Fry. His team are behind a little bit, but he is still the #1 fragger on the server, and just miles above anybody else on his side, doing a great job for his team. There's been multiple rounds where he's had so much impact. It's wonderful to see. Unfortunately, or at least unfortunately for FM, even with that performance, CAZ are still sat 2 rounds ahead of them, and potentially going to be trying to make that 3 this round, as they've managed to fill yet another AK buy. Wow. Regardless, we are going to be seeing 5-7 as the score. A very slow round indeed. Nobody even taking a point of damage so far, and CAZ just setting up towards this B site, so it is going to have to be essentially a full execute, and unfortunately for them, FM have the utility to hold them off. We see the Molotov come out on short to try and keep them at bay a little bit longer, but Bose is already down at the bomb, and that is going to be going down. The smoke's making sure nobody can take the fights against it, but Fry's still going to manage to find 1. neilzeno comes in with the second onto Jacob. And it's going to be a 5 versus 3 retake. A great position for FM to be in. And even as Cryptic manages to get one back for his team, it's going to be a trade. Jack now the man to try and make everything happen. And he does get 3. Manages to turn it into a 1 versus 1. And it's all down to neilzeno. Manages somehow to find the last. A crazy round from start to finish there. And the majority of the action taking place in probably the last 20 seconds. But FM managed to hang on to it somehow. Fry and neilzeno with a 2K and a 3K respectively. Just single-handedly, or between them rather, holding that site for their team, retaking that site for their team, and catching FM up by a little bit. Now 1 round in it, and it looks like this could be that round.
Yeah, it could well be. And I was thinking that whoever picked up that last round might be able to win half. And CAZ, if they'd won it, then they had half anyway. So, kind of a moot point. But for FM, this is their chance now. They're forced CAZ onto Tech 9 buy. But look at this. This is that extra gear that we've been talking about, and they are straight in. And now it's down to FM. How can they deal with this? They are probably more comfortable holding it into the site and having players rushing into them than they would have been sort of trying to get aggressive and, isolate off areas of the map, which hasn't been working for them. And I think case in point there, when FM are sitting back, waiting for the rush to come in, setting up a proper crossfire, they've got their utility, etc. The fact they're up against Tech 9s doesn't really matter. That is where it's at. If they just sit on the A site, wait for the action to come to them, they would probably have more rounds on the board here.
I think a big issue for CAZ is that they might have noticed that. Actually, as I point out, they actually do take up more aggressive positions than they have been. I was thinking because of the round previous to that we saw them win, there was literally no action until CAZ just chose to execute on the B site, and I mean, rounds like that is where FM are going to be looking the strongest, so it's sensible for them to go for it. It's just how long can it last? Right now, well, we have a chance to find out, as it is going to be the final round, and CAZ are pushing towards the B site. Robin going to be opening it up nicely. Stanley tries to get out of there. Tries to wait for his team to catch him up, but he's going to get tagged down low regardless. Pushing back out, and he still manages to find a frag. Instant headshot onto Jacob for a little bit less of a disadvantage for the FM side as they try and come into this site. It's just what they're going to be doing from this point on, because Boaster is deep in water with a nice position set up to catch him coming down from up, but manages to pick up the first and finds Som also. In the meantime, Cryptix manages to find Stan, and it's just going to be HudsG left, 1 versus 4, hoping that something can come of his plays. But unfortunately, it is going to be nothing, and CAZ do manage to take the half 8-7. Not really a score you want to be seeing if you're on CT side of Overpass. So FM sort of have a reason to be worried at the moment, but there is always the chance that these guys are going to have a solid T side as well. They choose this map for a reason. They must have something, Mark. You know, you've always got to believe, if somebody chooses a map, they have to have something. Hopefully
Yeah,
it's going to be the T side.
yeah, you would think so, and we'll just have to wait and see exactly what that happens to be. And you know, another thing I've got to be careful of is that CAZ don't, you know, play the more aggressive angles, you know, pushing through the mid better than FM do, which you wouldn't maybe put it past in the way that things have gone. I.e., if FM have got plenty of strats ready to go, they've got to make sure that they're not caught by surprise and off guard by CAZ doing something that FM, you know, perhaps wouldn't, as part of the way that their team is made up. And you know, we'll just have to see. And you can already look. Who's that coming in from behind? But you know, these guys that are hanging around in the mid area, they might already have, you know, a player looking to come in and catch him. And got let's see, who is that? Actually, I'm going to flick through and find out. So Chak's already in a position where he could come in from behind them, even if he doesn't commit himself. You know, it's going to be him charging in from behind, you know, working a bit of a pincer movement with his teammates over towards the site. And here he goes. Now, those footsteps might have given it away. HudsG is able to pick up Jacob in the meantime as they do make their play over towards the A. But Chak is charging in, and he might be able to catch some players off guard if they can't set up. Cryptix manages to get 1 frag, and here we go. Chak tries to make a play and does on Neilzinho, so he is taken well and truly out of the play. Bomb planted over towards the A site, 3v3 situation though, Cryptix, and he does take down Som. They're a little bit all over the place at the moment. Smoke goes in, and I'm going to just sit on this. I've got enough cover there. Stanley goes down. I think this DP is going to come in. Fry can't get there, and it is going to be first pistol round on the board for CAZ.
Yeah, something that I think if you're FM you didn't want to see at all. Already at a little bit of an advantage, CAZ do pick it up and find themselves at 9 rounds, and if this continues the way it probably should be, we're going to be seeing them take themselves to 10 before FM can get a response in. They did manage to get the plant, so we're potentially going to be seeing AKs bought out in the next round, and that could be essentially the thing that allows FM a decent chance into this, because it makes sure that CAZ can't get too far ahead. It makes sure that whatever happens, if they win that round, they definitely have a chance to come back in things and tie them up fairly quickly. It's just about what we're going to be seeing there, because this round should be a shutout, or at least by all measures you'd imagine it's going to be a shutout. But as I say that, we do see a trade frag coming in, and Fry's in the perfect position to continue putting them on the board. Manages to find Robin as well, and these P250s are doing a fair amount of damage. Shaq, the next man up to the plate, going to be seeing what he can do with the FAMAS. Make sure he doesn't lose his life in the same manner as his friends, and picks up a nice quick 3k, leaving Neilzinho as the last player alive.
And it's very effective as Chak puts his 4th one on the board, and CAZ again looking solid against the pistols. And never, well, I say never really in doubt. You know, FM were able to take out a couple of players, but you know, they still had to on-rush onto the site, and it's similar to what they were trying to do with their CT setup, is cause enough misdirection, get a few frags in the mid-area, and then the push does come in. You've already softened it up quite nicely for when your rotators come in. And you know, CAZ, even though it was an eco bash, showing FM a little bit of how it should be done, and they're already putting themselves in quite a nice position here as FM go for the force. Let's see how this develops going forward. You know, Chak up behind the barrels. Got, I think, a decent number of frags to add to his tally, collecting them in bunches in the last round. As Som makes a frag on Boaster. Cryptic's doing the same thing with a bit of a backup from Robin. Got 4v4 Sitch. Minute 20 left to go on the clock. Stan takes Cryptic's down round about the sort of short area into B, and they can press onto that if they want to. Chak tries to peek, and he's picked off very quickly. That was far too easy, you could suggest, as Stan's able to clean up Jacob as well. And this is going to be first round on the board, you would expect, for FM 4v1.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's Robin going to do in this situation? Pass, run away, and save that AK. Realistically, there's nothing that can be done in that place. There's nothing that really would justify the risk of the AK-47 there. So it is going to be a save, and this is what I was talking about. If FM managed to pick up this force round in the third, then they're in a good position still. If you look at CAZ's economy, it's definitely not set by any stretch of the imagination. Robin's going to be a little bit better off because he manages to save the AK, the armor, and the defuse kit. But everybody else is either going to be on not enough to buy next round, or if they can, it will be, well, sort of a scraping the bottom of the barrel type thing. It will be potentially chest armor and a FAMAS, but I wouldn't imagine they'd ever get more than that up. So it's a very worrying situation at the moment if you're CAZ, because FM look like they definitely have a chance to catch up. And honestly, it's what I want to see. We've been enjoying the close games today. We've seen a couple go to 30 rounds. Why not have more of the same?
Yeah, for sure, and I can't disagree. And sometimes when you start seeing 3-map overtimes, etc., it gets maybe a little bit of a drag sometimes, because when that happens, you end up with teams just getting into routines of how that all ends up panning out. But when we're seeing 16-14s and super close ones battled out, then that is absolutely fine. And when that happens, it's usually because the action is swinging backwards and forwards rather than a team getting on a huge run, which is always good to see. And it kind of comes about because no team can really get their economy up and running and firing. And we see a bit of a scrub buy coming in from CAZ against a full AK buy from FM. We'll just have to see how that pans out. Jacob with the Swag 7 up close in the toilets. He's in probably the perfect position for it, and one of the few times he will be favoured, and he's got a chance to play with it, and he does make the shot. It's a bit like an AWP. If you miss your first shot with that, you are in some serious trouble. But if you don't, then you are on point. Robin caught. I don't know what he's doing. He's like running knife out into the toilets, and there's people there ready to rip his head clean off, and that's exactly what they do. So FM now going to work on this one, charging on mass 4v2, and here's that extra pace. I was thinking, had they got this in their locker? And it seems like they don't care about committing to the sites when they have to, and now we're going to get the plant in. And it's Boaster and Chak. What can they do? Both rotating in from the B, so they're going to be slow and they're going to be late. Let's see what they can do with it.
Well, they're going to be very slow because they've decided they don't want to go for it. I'm pretty sure just sat there waiting for people to come their way, hoping they can find a couple of the exit frags, because again, there's no real chance that they're going to be able to retake this. And there are just those situations where you'd prefer to hold onto your weapon, you'd prefer not to risk any of that. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations, but they still end up losing them. A little bit of an awkward situation for them there, as they can't find the exit whatsoever and both get cleaned up, and it's another round on the board for FM, and CAZ down to a full eco, down to every single player playing with just the stock pistol. And what do you do in this situation apart from rush? There's nothing. You have to go a little bit aggressive. You have to try and put yourself in a position where you can get a firing squad going, essentially, and just try and put as many bullets into one person as possible to find the few frags that the USPs may be able to yield.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's probably the best way to go about it more often than not. Try to peak like that. I mean, pretty much one by one, and
yeah,
how that stands, collected 2 frags. Very quick succession with his Mac 10, so that's going to be 200% loss bonus. So might have a frag, and does make that on Boaster over towards the mid area, and FM now looking pretty strong. Again, another eco bash, but now they come away with it, only lose that one man to Stan, and that weapon doesn't get recovered. So it's a flawless victory pretty much, and they take it to 10-all. So back to even. CAZ back on the buy. They do have the AWP up, but you can see they've pretty much spent everything that they have in the coffers. It's going to be tough for them to keep on buying like this if they want to carry on. And with 20 rounds in, 2/3 of the way through this map in regulation, there's not that many rounds they've got to play with now.
No, this is where things do start to get a little bit worrying. There's some time on the board, so obviously this isn't sort of the final hurrah just yet, but should CAZ lose it, they're going to be putting FM in an extremely good position. Should they win it, well, it's not going to matter too much. CAZ are still going to have the money to buy up again, so essentially... Wait, switch that. Essentially, if you're CAZ right now, though, you have to win with 3 players left alive or more, because any other situation, you're still going to be finding yourself in a disadvantaged position in the next round, and realistically, even then, you might be coming a little bit light with utility, a little bit light with things like defuse kits, and everything like that's going to be coming into account, especially when the 2 teams are as strong as these guys have proved themselves to be, and the match is sort of as close and as tense as this one has been. You're going to need every advantage you can get, and I think FM know the gravity of this round because they're taking it so slowly. They're being extremely careful at the moment. It works out. Fry goes for a little bit of a jump peek, manages to dodge the AWP shot from Jacob, and gains that tiny bit of information that there is going to be someone with a big green gun staring down that angle, so they should probably steer clear.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to go for it, fair enough. But you got bigger cojones and idea to try and take on an AWP as HUDG takes down Chak, and that's 4 versus 4. So that trade very quickly goes in favour of the FM eSports boys. But they've got Boaster down there in the water, and he stops the plant from coming in. So now they've got a chance to try and take him out, but he's going to dig in as much as he can, use his utility, try and slow off, get a couple of frags, and wait for his teammates to come in, and that's exactly what has happened. Robin comes in, fills things off, and CAZ do end up picking up the round as well. So, nice work from those guys.
Yeah, and they did it in exactly the fashion that they needed to. They managed to keep 4 players alive, so 1 better than even 3. And it means this round is going to be both teams in full force. It's one of the few real gun rounds we've had where everything's sort of even, everything's good for them. And it's potentially going to be one of the more decisive rounds in the game because FM, whilst not broke, aren't in the best of places. And even if this doesn't break them entirely, it is going to mean that the next round will have to be a little lackluster. They'll have to shift some stuff around, potentially pick up Galils or maybe even an SMG or 2. And that's where things sort of get interesting if you CAZ. Obviously, both teams trying to do whatever they can to break the other's economy at this point, because as soon as one of these economies go, we're going to see a huge shift in the rounds on the board, especially this late in the game.
Yeah, and when it is that late, it's pretty much game-winning, potentially, and the closer and closer you get to it, the more you kind of want to hold on to that cash that you have got and make sure it doesn't slip away from you and you're not throwing away opportunities to cash in. Now they do try and make their play on to B, and it feels just a little bit too slow, if anything. If they're going to go for this split into the site, they need to be pouring out en masse, I think, and just try and cause issues. As Fry does take down Robin, that goes for the boost. Cryptic's then. He was the booster, got to do what he can, and they seem to be quite adept at finding headshots from this little bit of cover that they do have, and it's very well executed, very well played. Chak was second to the punch there, but he does get the frag on stand. That's got to hunt down the remaining player, who is Fry, and that is going to be 12-10 for CAZ eSports. 2 rounds on the bounce for them. FM now going to be up against it. They can still put a buy together, as you said, but it's going to get tighter and tighter unless they can get themselves back on the scoreboard here.
I mean, that's the thing. Had they not got the bomb plant, they'd be in worse situation. Right now, that has been their saving grace. It means we do see AKs, we do see utility. Basically, FM bought themselves another chance, and it's what you were saying. They're going to be more and more conscious of that economy, and they're going to be playing towards that a little bit. It's just whether that plays into their hands or against them, because some teams are going to be better when they don't really care, when there's not much to worry about, and they can just sort of go aggressive for these frags, and maybe FM don't care that much. Fry, straight for it, manages to find one, jumps in front of Jacob's AWP and stays there for the repeat, manages to find the frag anyway to put 2 on the board total and leave CAZ in a little bit of a pickle. Chak and Cryptics are on the site. It's just what are they going to be able to do at this point? Chak goes for a little bit of a peek, can't find anything. And Fry's just sat there as a dominant presence going, you peek me, you're going to be losing your head. And honestly, I don't really care. Allowing his teammates to push up, and it's absolutely wonderful to watch. FM right back into this one. A different team than we saw in the last round. A much more dominant team than we saw in the last round. And in a position where they can't lose at this point. Boaster just has to take what he can, and whether that's going to be the AK from this round into the next, or maybe even an exit frag, it's not going to be much.
No, it's not. I've just noticed that Fry already 3 kills in the round. He's chasing a 30 bomb. He's really storming ahead for his team. It's fair play. Obviously going to keep his solitary AK and take that forward into the next round. And fairly expensive outlay for some of these CAZ boys. You know, there are a couple that have got enough cash to be able to rebuy without too much problem. And then Boaster's got himself this AK to bring forward, plus his head armour. So, not a bad position unless he gets dropped here by Fry. And Fry looks in the wrong direction. Oh, that was so close. But they don't end up squaring off against each other. And then FM, again, bring the deficit down to 1. Getting so tense now. 23 rounds worth of Counter-Strike have been played. 7 more left to go in regulation. Full buy coming in from FM eSports. HUDG with the AWP up, and maybe he'll get the chance to square off against Jake. And where's he going? Underneath for the time being. So just going to sit there. And but HUDG, where's he looking? Well, probably going to be looking over towards the long, and I don't think there's any real challenge coming in. So he's going to be able to sit back and just anchor a position going forward. If they do manage to get themselves into the site, it could be a more useful weapon at the later stages, but you would maybe not favour him to be looking for any kind of picks at this stage. Not until the rest of his teammates get in there and use their utility to get themselves to the back of the site. Minute 10 left to go. Seems like FM are fully committed to this A strap. No mess around. They go for the boost. Jacob's looking for the peak. He's looking for the peak. There's 2 with the spray down, and Neilzinho and Stan work together to pick those up. The rotate now has to come in, but FM, if they don't mess this thing up, they have got their 12th round on the board to bring it even. Neilzinho looking towards the toilets, and he does have his back turned to the player that's in there for a brief moment, but I think he's going to be looking to lock that one down, and they still need to get in and make that plant, and they do, and the play comes in from behind. Robin able to stop the plant from coming in. So Neil picks it up. Good trade, and a chance for him now to get that plant underway. No real pressure on that. They still had plenty of time. They were committed to it. Cryptix takes down HUDG, so 3 for 2. It's still a good situation. Make that 2v2, and Neilzinho, he's pretty much trapped in there by the truck, by the red, and nice work from Som and Neilzinho. Step together at perfect times to cover both of the angles, and they do bring things home. But CAZ made that one interesting.
They nearly made that one interesting, but on the retake, the initial hold was so... It was pitiful. That's the only word I can use to describe it. It sounds harsh, but when you think about it, right, you had Robin there on the site, I think, with Jacob. I thought Robin was the advanced player, sorry, in toilets. You had Jacob there with one other, I think maybe Chak. And they were boosted looking over towards toilets whilst they had a player sat at the mouth of toilets anyway. They literally had nobody watching out for long whatsoever. And it just meant that as soon as the push came down long, they were dead. They couldn't do anything unless they both turned around and found themselves a couple of frags instantly. They're not even there with the ability to trade, with the ability to hear anything early. All FM had to do was walk down it quietly instead of making a load of noise, and they're basically gifted free frags, and I think that's what CAZ are trying to do this time. You can see they're working their way through tunnels at the moment, trying to come up quiet with the 5.7s in hand, or at least waiting for FM to jump down towards them. And if they don't, and if they hear this push coming through at all, this could be a huge, huge flank.
Sure could. You got to be careful of this stuff. Something that CAZ are more than happy to work on for FM. Maybe this sort of play might feel even a little bit uncomfortable for them, and if you're not an expert in executing it yourself, you might not know how to counter it as such, but they're back up into a position where they might be feeling comfortable once they can get in there, and they've got the weapon. Neilzinho with the AWP gets one, but they need to be committing to this if they want to go for it, and I don't think there's any other option other than committing to it. As Neilzinho now, he switches out to the AK, needs the close quarters, and HUDG and Som are both down to 10 HP between them. HUDG's got the AWP, which is not the weapon of choice really, and this is so tense. So tense. And walk straight into it. Such low HP, and CAZ bring themselves back into it. On the pistol, on the eco, and FM were just a little bit too slow to go for that, I think.
Oh, indeed. It just everything at the moment shifting back and forth so much, and a lot of that round also came down to the fact that CAZ decided to go on the aggressive this time. Obviously, we had the last round where they just played so passive that they got rolled over completely without actually having any sort of information whatsoever. This round they did the exact opposite. They sent Robin round through the back, They had, I think it was Jacob and somebody else, Cryptic, I think, pushing in through toilets towards long, just trying to give as much disruption as they could with the 5-7s and making sure they took them into the ranges where they were the most effective. And FM, to their credit, managed to do a lot on the A site rather. It's just when you're being attacked from that many positions, it is difficult to fend them off, and it did result in heavy losses. And there's a certain speed at which you can go to sort of try and dodge that flank, but it wasn't going to happen. As soon as the footsteps were heard, as soon as they hadn't had control of tunnels and they'd allowed people to sneak up behind them, they were sort of done for in the round. And it's unfortunate, but it does mean that we're probably going to be seeing this one get extremely close, as CAZ are now back in with a buy. FM are going to be putting up something of their own. I wouldn't quite call it a buy, but it's definitely weapons. And we're potentially going to be seeing this one go 14-12, but obviously that by no means suggests that FM are out of it, because every time they've seemed to be in a position where they might be out of it for good, they've come right back. Yeah,
they're not winning rounds, and CAZ, and because they've not had sustained periods of pressure on the CT side, the tougher side for the economy, it's been difficult for them to really build anything, and it does put them in situations where they need to dig something out like that eco round, which was pretty impressive all in all. I just caught FM a little bit by surprise. It's almost like they're not expecting teams are going to do that to them, and it's a little bit of, have you read the scouting report? Have you watched these guys in action? Considering all the games have been on stream, and maybe you've learned something, but it's kind of surprising they've not come up against the aggro plays, and just in the process of working together as a team, especially if you end up with a bit of a crazy mixed team, where that's pretty much all you're going to face is people flying solo, going aggressive on you, and people pushing out sites on ecos or an en masse push, and those are all fairly common things. And if you take the gamble, you're either running headlong into players or you're wrapping in behind them, and they're not going to be looking for you, and just while trying to get themselves set on the site. Good time to hit them. So as well for FM, not a full buy coming in. They've entered the menu. That's about all that we can say. But AWP up in hand, couple of AKs, couple of Tech 9s. So if the Tech 9s can pick up a few weapons, then they'll be absolutely fine. Going for the armour. HUDG gets hammered down, but he's eventually taken, catching a nade perfectly. And now Robin, he's more happy to just absorb this pressure. And the AK control is phenomenal as he gets 3 frags before Fry was able to pick it up. But it is CAZ with the advantage, 3-2. Fry down to super low HP. 1 nade would be enough to put him to bed. None are up in hand, but a couple of Molotovs, so he can't do too much with that. Cryptic's right up close. Maybe he's given the game away. Yes, he has. Neil Zinio takes it down. Back to 2v2. 2v1. Neil putting in a huge performance. As down goes Boaster as well. But look at his HP. He's down to 5. He's picked up super quick. And 8 seconds left to go. Is that Molotov going to stop the plant from coming in? No, it's not. But look at his position. Tracks in. Far too easy. Fry doesn't even get the chance to sit up and challenge. 14-12 it is for CAZ. Good plant for FM. I guess in the circumstances that's going to be a benefit, but they can't buy. They can't buy properly anyway.
No, they can't buy properly this round, and it's when you get that question, isn't it, Mark? It's when you get, okay, do we save and try and push it to overtime, or do we force up here, potentially lose this map outright? And at the moment it looks like we are going to be seeing them attempt to go for the overtime, because this round's just going to be some pistols and a couple of sets of armor, and it's not going to be anything pretty, but it might just be effective. Obviously, FM not putting too much fast pressure on the B site recently. Maybe CAZ aren't going to be prepared for it. Maybe this is going to come as a shock, and the nade misses as well, so they have more of a chance, but even jumping, Boaster manages to find one and doesn't lose his life at all. And unfortunately, it looks like it's only going to be a couple of frags as Som and Nilzinho pick up 1 apiece. But Som is now the last player left on 20 HP, and there's nothing you can do in that position. So it is round number 15 on the board for CAZ. It is match point secured, but the game is far from over. FM can now field a full buy. They're going to be coming in with AWPs, AKs, everything that you can imagine them wanting to try and hold this off for another 3 rounds.
Yeah, and I'm sure it won't happen, but I'd be quite interested if CAZ did decide to get a little bit aggro and maybe try, not go for a full commit, but try and work something similar to that wrap behind that they were working before. Because FM, and they are just sitting right back. You see Som, he's not committing at all. He's playing about as far back on that little angle into the tubes as he can, and of course he can drop back into the garden where they're stacking up towards mid and 8. and back up whenever he wants to. You see they are getting aggressive, and straight away someone goes for the peak, and that's Fry. He must have put his 30 bomb together now, and that is actually the frag that does it. So, you know, very ambitious play the way he's jumping around. Robin might have a play, and you wouldn't put it past Robin to pick these up as Jacob gets one, and oh, down he goes to Stanley. That's not the best trade, and now FM, they're rolling again. 4 versus 2. Stan, you can just blow on him, and it's going over for him. Som, a well-placed nade right on his feet would put him out of action, but there are no nades up, so unless CAZ can retrieve one on the route, that's not going to happen. HUZG going to watch behind. I'm not really sure where this rotate's going to be coming in from, and looking at CAZ, I think they might be shaping up for a save. No real attempt to commit. Just going to sit and lock down the spawn and, you know, live to fight another day. You only need one more round of the remaining 2 after this one to bring the thing home.
Indeed. And honestly, it looks like they should be able to find it at some point. If it's not going to be this round, it should be the one after that. But you've always got the question of what they're going to be doing economically. How are they going to be working around what they have? How are they going to be sorting this out? Because should they invest fully into this one, Jacob has the money for the AWP. Boaster can probably drop an M4. They can probably get a full buyout. The next round, well, I wouldn't be so sure. So it's going to be that thing again, isn't it? It's either go for a slightly weaker buy now or go for a full buy in the next, and they've decided the slightly weaker one now is the option to go for it. It means they are going to be having another chance, but should they lose this one, overtime is all but guaranteed. It's basically a foregone conclusion at that point, and that is well, that's something a little bit scary for them. So this round's going to have to be perfection, and again, I've got to agree with you that I'd like to see something a little bit more innovative come out of them. I'd like to see something that they haven't been doing all game started off, and potentially just try and catch FM by surprise. Right now, though, it looks like we're going to be seeing stuff that is bog standard. Passive holds on sites, one man playing long, and realistically, a path to A site completely clear of anybody for them to exploit.
And see you later, Nilzinho, as he tries to step out into long, and Jacob able to take him down. So straight away, he can now sit back and watch more towards the mid area, and that's exactly the angle he's going to hold. We'll probably be able to hear footsteps if someone wants to go up long. If they want to walk it all the way, well, that is valuable time off the clock, and there's only 50 seconds of that left to go. FM fighting for their life in this, the first map of the best of 3, the upper bracket final of the playoffs, and this is their map choice as well, so going to make it extra tough for them to take this one to a third. Jacob fights the pressure, and he soaks it up, and there goes HUZG jumping on the cross, trying to get himself an angle into the site, and Jacob's not allowing that to happen. He's now going to drop back, not going to give away his life, and he's going to give time for his teammates to come in and rotate and do some damage. Jacob misses his shot as Fry takes down Robin, has a chance to make a play on Jacob as well. 3v3 it is. Now they've got to lock this site down if they want to get the plant down, and they do, with about 10 seconds left to go, just over. Fry down to 20 points of health. He's going to be an easy find if they can get his position. No nades to throw in, and someone's getting aggressive with the flash, and Jack gets the frag on Stanley. Why are you pushing, bro? And now Fry's giving away his position. He's low HP. Got time for the defuse to come in. I'm sure there's kits kicking around, and they do. They bring this thing home. 16 to 13. CAZ take the victory over FM. Steal one away from FM, and we are going into the second map.